In Brazil, there are many alternatives that most of us don't know, we're not aware of. And gradually, through some people I've been contacting and working with, I've been able to discover that there are more alternatives. We discuss about PEC-G, about PEC-PG, about GCUB, but there are other alternatives, most especially at the postgraduate level. I had this fear of one day receiving this sad notice. I had a problem. I committed so many errors, and I remember I was studying. It was it was very early in the morning. I think about 4-5 a.m. I was studying, and my phone rang. It was very strange because when I picked up the phone, he told me, and I was like, I didn't believe it because it broke me down. I was at the end of my semester, suspend some subjects, because I didn't have, I lost everything.
Hello beautiful people, welcome back to our channel. Do you know that simply coming to Brazil is not the ultimate goal? The true goal is to be successful in whatever endeavor you pursue. That's why on this channel I bring tips on how to be successful in Brazil, whether you're a student or not. So in this interview video, we will learn from someone who has been in Brazil for many years. And I want you to gain insight from my guest experience and understand what to avoid in achieving your success, because he left no stone untouched in this interview. But before we dive into the details, let's welcome our guest, who is also a fellow YouTuber. He completed his BSc, MSc and PhD in Brazil and has worked in various jobs, gaining diverse experiences. Today he's living his life in Brazil to the glory of God. Join me in welcoming Dr. Ayuba. A round of applause, everyone.
Glad to be here. I've accompanied your channel. But I didn't know, it was you. But I watch your content, and I'm really surprised to receive the invitation. And it's really a pleasure to share the experiences so that we can learn together. Yeah. So let's go.
Thank you very much. To start with, can you share with us your experience, arriving in Brazil as an international student?
I remember I was listening to the radio. That's the city radio, 94.5, 7 FM. That's the Bauchi radio. And there was a call for application for students to study in Brazil, various engineering courses. And I picked interest, based on the announcement. I submitted my documents, and that was how the journey began. But I never imagined myself studying outside Nigeria. Yes. So that was how it began. And I went through the process of selection and the language screening, and I landed in Brazil. Yes.
Wow. Thank you so very much.
Can you share with us your experience, from the time you arrived in Brazil as an international student to the time you completed your PhD? What were some of the challenges you faced
as a foreign student?
I think the experience in Brazil wasn't very different. Before I came here, I had a little, information, not very much, because in general we don't know Brazil in Nigeria, for instance. Yeah, so we know about the football, about some just a few things about Brazil, the music, but knowing about the technological aspect of Brazil, the deep culture that I see, and the experiences in terms of cultural ties that we have, the identity that we have, it wasn't something that I knew. So it was more of an adventure. But when I came here, I identified myself with so many things. And it wasn't very difficult to, to adapt here. So even if I would come back, I think what I would try to do is learn the language. Yes. It's what I insist. I wouldn't.
Let me put it in this perspective for someone, because one of the essence, like I said earlier, one of the essence of this interview is for people that are coming to glean from your experience. So let me put it in this perspective. What is going to be your advice for someone that wants to study in Brazil, that has never been to Brazil before? Take, for instance, the person doesn't understand Portuguese, the person doesn't know about the culture, What is going to be your advice for the person?
Yeah, the advice is try to study the continent. the country.
Okay.
Sorry to call it a continent. It's a it's a continental country. It's very large.
It's very large.
So what you will have to do is study the country, know the regions. You know, we have different regions. We have the hot region, the cold region, and we have the moderate region. We have places where you find concentration of different races of population. So you can identify yourself, for instance, with Bahia, with Rio de Janeiro, with Sao Paulo, with Rio Grande do Sul. We have different regions, and the way of life is very different in those places. So what I would advise you to do is try to sit down, do a very elaborated research on these regions, and you know, consider so many factors.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's basically what I would advise them to do. But the first thing is get the language. If you're going to learn it in your country, that's fine. There are institutes in some countries.
Okay.
We used to have it in Nigeria, but I don't know if it still functions. Well, during my time, there was an institute in Ife. That's the University of Ife, OAU.
Okay.
There was an institute there, and we studied the language there. So we learned the language in Nigeria. But in your case, if you are coming, you try to like follow the correct channel. Maybe come through an institution, or you start learning the language there in your country before you come. Okay. So the first thing you come, you need to be worried about is the language.
Okay. Oh,
yes,
that's perfect. Thank you so much for that response.
Thank you so much. So
During your MSc, because I know you've done your you did your BSc here, right? If I'm correct.
Yes,
You
my
did your
BSc,
BSc, your MSc, and you are done with PhD. We can actually describe you as someone that have been there, done that, right? So congratulations on your PhD, and I'm praying for you more heights.
Thank you very much.
All right. So the next question is, how were you able to cope with the language? Because I know you entered to the PECG program, and for PECG, the first thing one is going to do is to do like a 1 year learning Portuguese. But sometimes I think 1 year might not be
sufficient to understand all what entails in the language. So how were you able to cope with the technical terms, during the course of the study? After the 1 year of learning Portuguese, how were you able to cope, subsequently to the end of your program?
At the inception, it was very difficult.
Okay.
Because I came with basic Portuguese. The advantage was having acquired the language before coming. That's the basic. I was able to communicate. I remember I could communicate. Even though it wasn't that formal communication, I committed so many errors, and I was a little bit open to the students, most especially my colleagues. And that was something that helped me a lot, because when you are open, people tend to correct you. They laugh at the mistakes you make. So that was the first thing I did. I made sure I was very close to some few of my colleagues. We would study together at the library, and I would ask many questions. And to cope with the language, I had to study like twice. Okay.
Wow.
While they were studying maybe 2 days, I was studying like 6-7 days. Okay.
Wow.
I studied the language and studied the content, the subjects, and that was how I coped with the language. I was able to scale, my first semester, I passed the subjects. I had a problem at the inception, but that's something that I don't want to talk about, right? I had a problem with a teacher, with a lecturer. So it's another topic, yes.
Yeah.
But apart from that, all the subjects, I passed them. So I was able to cope with the language, particularly trying to study it, all the time. Yes.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed is that in science, the languages are similar.
Yeah, the technical terms are similar.
Yeah, the technical terms are similar. I started facing some issues with chemistry, but it wasn't something that was very, let's say, it was, let's say, rocket science. I was able to cope with the difficulty, right? But as I said, it's just trying to study harder. It's not easy. It's not something that you you are used to. Portuguese is entirely different from English. But we have some terms, that are similar, most
Similar.
especially science,
Yeah.
and that makes it easy. When you are studying maybe a social or a human sciences, it might be difficult because you're gonna have to
But
study the
but
literature.
basically, what you're trying to tell us is that someone with a basic knowledge of Portuguese coming to
Yes,
Brazil newly would be able to at least find his way around, right?
yeah, you'll
Perfect.
find your way around. Yeah, you
Perfect.
study and you'll be able to cope.
Oh wow.
And with time, it's gonna be progressive. Your Portuguese is gonna, improve.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Right, thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are seeing this video for the first time, or if you are joining this channel for the first time,
Don't forget to like and to share, to subscribe as well. And our guest also is also a YouTuber. He has a lot of content that he has, produced. His channel is a channel you don't want to miss, and I would like you to, try to visit his channel and to subscribe. Do you want to tell us the name of your channel?
Yeah, my channel is Ayuba in Brazil. Nuhu Ayuba in Brazil.
All right, no Ayuba.
Nuhu Ayuba in Brazil.
All right, as you can see it on the screen. I would like you to describe housing. Like, is it easy getting settled down as a foreign student, as an international student, getting accommodation? Were you received by the school, or you? Even though if we are not talking about when you came in, let's talk about right now, because you have experience about the past, and you also have a current experience. So I want you to tell us, what do you think about accommodation? Like, is it easy to get accommodation in Brazil?
Actually, it depends on the region. That is why it's very important if you are coming, you study all the regions. And there is a very important factor, which is financial factor. I
Okay.
came with a scholarship, so that made my life very easy. I remember when I came, I got a house. I met some friends from Guinea-Bissau
Okay.
and other African countries. They were already living together. So one thing I did was contact them, and they gave me temporary accommodation before I got my residence. Okay, I moved to my permanent residence. It's something that it's a strategy that anyone can adopt
Okay.
because
Like co-sharing
it's yeah.
apartment, right?
Yes. If you are coming for the first time, you can contact someone.
Okay.
In my case, I didn't contact anyone. I just landed and I went to the department, and they had to call the African guys. Some of them came, and that was how I got the residence. So, but after that, we went to some places. It wasn't very difficult at that time. Okay, it wasn't difficult at that time. You didn't need to sign many contracts. Like now, presently, you have to sign. You need maybe a lawyer. You need an agency
Okay.
to issue some documents. So that you have the vacancy. That time there wasn't any bureaucracy, and I remember I also had a scholarship, so I could pay, and I paid a year residency, So it was something that gave the owner of the residency a confidence. So I paid yearly. Yes, I remember living for 5 years in the same residency. And but in general, when I went to São Carlos, it was more difficult.
Wow.
That's in São Paulo. Yes, it was more difficult. Most of the houses were requesting for documents, so you had to go through a legal system, maybe a lawyer or an agency. So the agency would like charge you for some fees, and you'll sign some contracts. Maybe in case you violate the contract, you had to pay like 3 to 5 months
Ahead.
of rent.
Wow.
Yes. No, of rent. Maybe
Oh,
you
if you
sign,
violate the contract. Yeah. I think I
if you
actually have an
violate it.
experience when I came in, right?
Yes.
My guide already helped us to get an accommodation. But there was a need for
Okay.
us to leave their accommodation before the terms and conditions
Ex-
are fulfilled. So, and
okay.
the woman was trying to tell me, you know what, if you are going to leave, that means you're going to pay me. She was even telling me I should pay her twice, like double of the rent.
The rent.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yes.
one thing is that what you just said right now made me to remember, and it's totally true. What I resorted
Yeah.
to, that time was trying to beg, calling so many people to help me beg the landlady. Eventually she
Mhm.
allowed us to go, but it is not
Okay.
what I'm going to advise anybody coming afresh to enter into,
Yeah.
because in their own case, it was because I was living with the landlady. Maybe that was why she agreed. If it was another
Okay.
landlord that I don't see physically, it's probably have been something else.
Yeah.
So
It would have been a court case. Yes.
so I totally agree that it is important for you to first maybe settle with someone first and try to study the ground before you go and rent an apartment. That's okay. That's okay.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So
That's okay.
that you don't have an issue.
Yeah.
They usually tell you the best places to live. For instance, if you come to St. Louis, I can tell you where you can live,
Yeah.
depending on your maybe
Budget.
financial capacity.
Yeah.
Yes, because there are places where you don't need documents,
Mm.
but there are places that when you get there, it's very difficult to get the residency, and it's also very difficult to do away with the terms and conditions.
Yeah.
Some sign for a minimum of 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
There was a one that we were negotiating, I think, 2 weeks ago. They decided to leave, and the contract was still valid.
Wow.
So they have to pay, I think, about 3,000 reals,
Wow.
reais, about 3,000 reais. Yes, because it's a big house. And yeah, one of the students decided to leave. So
So they pay
it
like three
became like,
thousand reais as penalty, right? For
yes,
violating
as
the
penalty.
for violating the
Exactly.
terms and
Yeah.
condition.
Yes. So they are trying to settle it. They are still trying to settle it at this moment that we are making this video.
Wow.
Yes. So it's something that sometimes can be a little bit complicated.
Wow.
But if you are sure that you're going to live there for that period of time, then you can sign the contract.
Okay.
Otherwise, you try to live with some colleagues until you have something, a place that you really love to stay. You spend your time. So
Okay. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Talking about your channel, there's a particular video you made. You talked about the jobs you have done since you came to Brazil.
yeah,
So what advice do you have for international students looking for part-time work or internship while studying in Brazil?
yeah, it's something really interesting. I advise students to try to look for something. Don't just depend on the scholarships.
Okay.
You can do you can use your extra time to make some money. In my case, when I came, I had a very good scholarship. I wouldn't deny that.
Mm.
But I went to an English school. I think I was teaching in about 3 English schools
Wow.
when I came here. Yes, so I had an extra, and most of the time, it was really an advantage to me because I used the money to do lots of things.
Okay.
Yes, and yeah, it helped me a lot. I had many options. It's good to live comfortably as a student, not just depending on that scholarship that you have, maybe paid by the government or by the university. Yeah, you have that as guarantee sometimes. But it's good to work with things like teaching English if you are coming from an English-speaking country.
Okay.
Work as a French teacher. I have a friend from Benin who teaches French at the moment, and he has expanded. At the moment, he's teaching lots of students because he graduated in biology, and he is making it in teaching French. Yes, he's making good money. But while you are studying, make sure you don't use most of your time to teach or to work. You can reserve just a little time, like 3 hours, three,
Okay.
4 hours per day
Okay.
to work. And the rest of the time you have it for your studies, because you mustn't put other things in the first place. The priority is studies.
Okay.
So you come, you focus on that so that you wouldn't have problem.
Yeah.
And before you know, maybe we start having GCUB students, engaging in other activities and not focusing on their works. And then we are held responsible here. So
Yeah, that's true.
when you come, you try to measure, okay, this is my strength. For instance, I like walking. I can walk at 3 a.m., 4, 5, I don't have a good time to work. So in my own situation, I can cope with stress, okay? So if you measure your strength and you know that you can do it, you do it. If you don't like stressing yourself up, you might decide to focus on your studies, and then leave work apart. Maybe if you finish, and then you can go there.
All right. So thank you so much. Thank you very much. So basically, as an international student, one of the easiest job to see is teaching. Maybe teaching English, teaching French, or any other foreign language that is internationally recognized.
Yeah, and there are also what do you call extension and research.
Okay.
You can work in a lab, and then they can give you a scholarship.
Okay.
You can decide to look for research groups and work with them. Even if that doesn't give you money, you can do that for your curriculum. It's also very important. Wow. Yes. I also work with photography.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I also work, I used to work with the Uber and 99 app.
Oh, wow.
That is, I used to drive. Yeah, there was a time I was driving.
But you must have fully understood the language by then.
Yes, I was already, that was after my graduation. When I graduated in 2015.
Okay.
2016, 2017, I went into that driving stuff.
Wow.
Yes, but yes, I went into driving, but I didn't start driving actually. I started processing
the documents.
The documents, because in Brazil, you need a year with probation.
Yeah.
When you do your driver's license, you need to go through a year of probation. So within 2016-17, I was still in probation. So I started driving. It was after my master's. That was in, I think, 2019. Yeah, 2019. So I drove, and then the pandemic came, and I had to stop. But after the pandemic, I also continued. I think 2021, when the pandemic was low, I decided to engage in that. Not because I needed it, because I already had scholarship then, my doctorate studies, but because I was feeling bored. That period was very difficult. We had spent months without going out. It was locked down here in St. Louis. And psychologically, I really needed to have contact with people. So I said, oh, I have an Uber app. I turned it on, and then I started driving, So somehow it was like a therapy to me. And wow. While making money, cool cash, driving, talking to people.
I understand.
And then, yes.
I understand. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Ayuba. So moving on, talking about resources and support system. So did you find what exact resources or support system did you find most, helpful during your time as a student in Brazil?
I think their system is very efficient.
Okay.
When I came in 2011, I wasn't actually accompanied. I didn't meet someone at the airport waiting for me.
Okay.
That was different. Other students, they were, some people went to the airport to get them.
Yeah.
But in my case, I had to go to the university.
By
But on
yourself?
landing at the university, the coordinator was already waiting for me. He was expecting my coming, and it was soft. The documentation,
Yeah.
the orientation, the reception was perfect. And I looked at the efficiency of how things were moving. It was fantastic. When you need like a social assistance, maybe you are in need of an urgent help, there was structure for that. You could go to the students department, or you could go to directly to the coordination, that is the international.
Mobility center.
uh, yes, exactly. So you could go there, lay your complaint.
Okay.
And I remember there was a time that they didn't send my scholarship on time.
Okay.
So I think about 2 months without
Wow.
scholarships. Yes. So I went there, and they gave me an aid. Yeah, I was approved
An
a
aid.
stipend.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me quickly ask this question. During your PECG, were you receiving a stipend?
Yeah, I was receiving from Nigeria, from
So,
my state government. Yes,
okay, okay.
I
You
was
weren't
receiving
receiving
direct.
anything from Brazil, right?
No, I wasn't
Because right
receiving any.
now, I know that PECG is just the way it was, but right now,
Yeah.
you can also apply for. There are some students in my school that are under PECG, and
Yeah.
majority of them are being paid, right? So right now, I think one can actually apply for stipend
Yeah.
if you have a tangible reason.
Yes, you can apply for. There is one promesais. That's how they call it. I don't know if you've heard of that scholarship.
Promise.
Here in Brazil, yes, promesais for the PECG students. They
Okay.
they have that. So even if you don't, even if you maybe you have a support that is not, let's say, registered.
Sufficient.
In my case, it was a registered and clear scholarship. The
Okay.
government sent a letter that, oh, we are taking care of these students. So the university knew of my case.
Okay.
But there are cases where parents send their students and they sign the contract.
Yeah.
So maybe they are without that strength of maybe sending the money to the student, and the student finds himself or herself in a difficult situation. In that case, the student can apply for the promesais.
Oh wow.
And if the student has a very good grade, the student can apply for merit scholarship. They call it Bolsa de Mérito.
So
If you have, I think,
So during your time, you were actually cashing out dollars from Nigeria government.
yeah, I was I was cashing out in dollars actually. Yes,
Okay.
it was a very good scholarship.
Yeah, that's very
And
good because I know by the
sometimes
time you actually exchange the dollars, also it's going to also make sense.
exactly, yeah, it was a very good scholarship.
Wow,
Yes,
that's very good.
yeah,
Thank you so much. So, the next question I'm going to ask you is about you being a YouTuber as a content creator, right? So, how do you think
okay,
that
yeah.
content creation and sharing of experiences can, help international students to adjust, to adjust to life in Brazil?
Yeah, I think it's not a secret because who is watching this video knows that the information we are providing here somehow helps.
Yeah.
Maybe you are being entertained, or you are interested in coming here, and some of the information we provided here might help you, to construct your mind,
It is
to
either
be
you're being
ready.
entertained or you're being informed, right?
Exactly, yes. Some people, they enjoy what we say. Some people, they need the information. And basically, I think people who watch us need the information.
Yeah.
And I think making interviews like this, saying what our experiences are, making the information available for everyone helps a lot.
Yeah.
And I've had so many people sending me emails telling me how my content helped them.
Wow.
I'm really happy about it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we are here to provide the information. Basically, that is it.
Yes, and I must say that before I came to, because like I said earlier, that experience is very important. If you want to go to
Yeah,
anywhere, it is important for you to get to know people that have been there. I can
yeah.
vividly say that your content also is one of those ones that I watched before coming to Brazil. Just trying to know about where I'm going to, because I've never been to Brazil before, and I was looking for someone from my country or that
Okay.
speaks the language I understand, that has been doing, that has been to where I want to go to. So I would like to say, just like in Brazil, just like the way Brazil would say parabens, right? I would like to say kudos and keep it up, keep doing what you are doing, keep giving out the information. I know that content creation can be very tiring, can be time consuming, can be and it can be money consuming as well. But I want to encourage you to keep doing what you are doing, and you have no idea of how far your impact is getting to. So God bless you, Ayuba.
I'm really happy to hear that. Sometimes when I open my emails and I receive messages, I get surprised. People tell me, "Oh, I've just landed." I really feel happy about that, and
Yeah,
that's just like a fuel in my engine, and
yeah,
it makes me try to give more information to
yeah,
improve the quality. I believe it also shapes me the way I am as human,
yeah,
because people end up sharing their personal thoughts. Like now, I never imagined. I accompany your contents, but I never knew it was you. I
yeah,
was surprised when I turned on my camera to see that it was you.
yeah.
And I also listening that you accompany my content, that makes me
Yeah.
really, really
I do.
surprised and
I do.
happy.
I
Yes,
do.
yes, yes.
I
So
do.
I appreciate that, and I believe that that's basically what I'm supposed to do, because I was trained to do what I'm doing. I
Yeah.
think it's a service, yeah,
Yeah. It
because
is
we
it's
are
actually a
what.
service, it's a service to humanity, especially when we are not getting anything from, we are just doing it, not that we are getting anything from doing the
Yeah,
content.
you are not
So
getting
it's just like a
anything.
service to
Yes,
humanity. And whoever that is watching this video, I would like you to encourage the content creator, whichever content creators that you are getting information from. You can just subscribe, like their video, share. It goes a long way. So thank you so much, Ayuba. So I want to ask you another question, and it is like a two-edged sword question.
okay,
I want to
can
ask
go ahead.
about the cultural differences, in Brazil compared to where you are coming from. And the other part of this world is that, do you really miss home?
Okay, cultural differences.
Yeah.
I remember before I came to Brazil, my mother called me. As I told you, I never imagined coming to traveling to any country. It
Okay.
wasn't planned by, my mother never taught me to think of an alternative, maybe living somewhere. But all of a sudden, I was in that situation of, okay, next week I'm going to Brazil. So she called me and she told me, Ayuba, Brazil is a different place. You might see things that are not common here, but it's something that is their culture. She
Mm.
told me about maybe embracing, because in Nigeria, we hardly see physical contact.
Yeah.
Affection is not something we do,
A
most
lot. We don't do
especially,
that a lot in
yeah,
Nigeria.
exactly. So she told me about that. She told me some things that gave me some consciousness, about the differences, and that was how I got here. When I came here, it was like
Sorry,
it's
sorry,
just
sorry.
like
Let me
a
let me quickly
cylinder.
point. Let me quickly point in humorously. Humorously, did she tell
Okay.
you that you might find love in Brazil too?
Yeah, she told me about that, but it was a little bit like she tried to scare me.
Okay,
Yeah, she tried to scare me so that I could go back to Nigeria and find someone.
I got it.
She told me, no, don't go there and find someone. It might be very difficult, because in the films, they show how when breakups happen, there is this, let's say the other party maybe doesn't accept. So sometimes you have tragic situations. And she
Yeah.
used that as as an example to scare me. But when I
Yeah,
came here, it was totally different.
like every other mother would do, you know.
Yeah, I felt her, and sometimes I think it's a strategy that mothers have
To
to
focus,
protect
to tell
their,
their child to focus.
yes, to focus. And she constantly called me when I was in Brazil.
Mm,
So when I came, it was like, it's just like it's just like gas in a cylinder.
mm,
And then you come and then, so you are in a free place where people hardly talk to you when you are doing something wrong.
mm.
So that was the first shock I had, because society is always looking at you,
Yeah,
so you have to do some things according to the standards. But here, you can go and do something that is not good and no one talks to you. So that was the first thing cultural shock. And the affection that people have, like opposite sex, they go with holding their hands. You see everything normally. That was another thing that I saw that was different. And
okay.
people also, they are free. They move around. They talk. It's normal to like insult, like some languages we call slangs, right? It was
Slides.
normal. So yes,
Yeah.
but there, northern Nigeria is a little bit different from southern Nigeria.
Yeah.
So I come from the north, and if south has a posture, imagine the posture of the north. It's more conservative.
Yeah. The
Yes,
northern part of Nigeria is a bit conservative compared to the
yeah,
southwest.
exactly. So I come from the north, and it was
Religiously.
a little bit, yeah. But if you are coming from a very strict culture
Yeah.
to a free culture, it becomes easier. You adapt easily. Yes.
Wow.
Some things you are scared. Yeah, because it took me a long time to start using a short. It took me
Wow.
a long time. Yes, because in North we hardly use the shorts.
I understand.
So when they tell me, "Oh, Ayuba, let's," I wouldn't like to use that. So recently, I started using that recently.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah. So these are some
So
simple examples. Yes.
okay. So talking about the other parts of the question, like did you really miss home?
Yeah, I really miss home. I really miss home. Yes,
Wow.
the food, the people, let's say that interference.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have a problem, a
Yeah.
family issue,
Yeah.
an academic issue, something, and then you have people coming together to talk to you. It's something that I miss a lot. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and
And in your video, you mentioned that you were in Brazil when you heard that your mom passed away, right?
yeah, I was in Brazil. I
So
was here. I
how were
was.
you able to cope with the grief, and what have you that has to do with losing someone that is very dear, not ordinary person right now, someone that is very dear to your heart. How were you able to cope?
Yeah, it was a very difficult moment.
Oh my God!
And my mother is a symbol to me. She brought me up.
Wow.
I didn't have like the presence of my father. They had a problem. They had issues, and he left when I was about 4 or 5. So I didn't have like the father.
The presence of your father.
Yes, presence of my father. So she brought me up. She was a symbol to me. She was everything to me.
Oh my God.
I also had this fear of one day receiving this sad notice,
Yes.
that she passed on. And I remember I was studying. It was it was very early in the morning. I think about 4, 5 a.m. I was studying, and my phone rang. It was very strange because my brother normally doesn't call me, and he called me. When I picked up the phone, he told me, and I was like, I didn't believe it, because my mother was someone who I never expected would have that short life. I expected my mother to live
She
a
was
longer
full of
life.
life.
Yeah, she was full of life. She took care of herself, but I didn't know she had a problem with her heart. And it's very dangerous because she was living alone. My brother was not always at home. He was always with his friends, and it was a little bit difficult, you know. So when he called me, I took my time to receive that information, and you know, it broke me down. I was at the end of my semester, so I had to suspend some subjects, you know, because I didn't have, I lost everything. It was like, why am I studying? What am I studying for? Because we study sometimes to make our families proud, to make our friends proud. And my mother was someone I wanted to make proud in my life. So it was very difficult. And I suspended everything. I traveled. And yeah, so that was it. I think that was the last time I traveled. When I got there, it was like, I don't want to come back to this place.
Wow.
You know, I looked at the house. I went in, and it's just like she's coming in. I'll just be waiting there. It's just like she's gonna come in. So she didn't. You know, that didn't happen. I looked at her things. You know, anytime I looked at them, they made me like feel really
Emotional.
bad. Yeah. So when I left with that sensation that, man, I don't really want to. Even if I go back to Nigeria, I might avoid that place. You know, that reminds me of my mother. You know, it was really a very bad time.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was really bad.
Yeah, I can relate. I can fully relate with what you are saying because I also have a similar experience. But I'm just praying that God will give you strength and may your soul rest in perfect peace.
Amen.
And God will continue to strengthen you and you know, be able to surpass every of the dreams that she had for you.
Amen. Amen.
So I just have like two more questions before we wrap it up, right? So
Let's go.
what advice can you give to someone that is interested in studying in Brazil and maybe the person missed the opportunity of GCUB? I'm talking about the postgraduate right now, even the undergraduate, but majorly postgraduate. Maybe the person missed the general scholarship for postgraduate. What advice can you give to such person?
Actually, you shouldn't give up, because in Brazil there are many alternatives that most of us don't know, we're not aware of. And gradually, through some people I've been contacting and working with, I've been able to discover that there are more alternatives. We discuss about PEC-G, about PEC-PG, about GCUB, but there are other alternatives, most especially at the postgraduate level. You see, you can send the universities emails.
Yeah. Code emails.
Yes, you can send the lecturers emails so that you can participate in some selective processes, most especially for international students. And I discovered that some universities open vacancies specifically for international students.
Yeah.
And yesterday I was talking to a lady. Her name is Esther. I don't know if she would permit me to, reveal her identity.
No problem.
I'm going to reveal it. Yeah. She sent me a message, yesterday that she's been shortlisted.
Wow.
Not under the GCUB, not under the PEC-PG. She went through another selective process, right? So this is there's her letter. I don't know if it's gonna show. That's her letter.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's been accompanying me, and she's still in Nigeria. And I believe that is another alternative. If you miss the GCUB, you miss the GCAP, the GCUB, yes, and PEC-PG, you can go for this alternative too. The universities have other calls that you can participate. Yes.
Oh wow. Thank you so much, Ayuba, for your insight and the experience you have shared with us on this channel. And the last question that I'm going to ask you is, how has your experience in Brazil impacted your personal and professional life? And what are you going to recommend to international students to make most of their time in Brazil?
Actually, in Brazil, I learned a lot.
Okay.
The information I have at the moment, Majority I gathered here in Brazil,
Okay.
because when you come, you have to answer questions related to South Africa, to Kenya, to Tanzania, you have to like speak as an African,
Yeah.
not just like a Nigerian. I'm a Nigerian. So that's one thing that you're going to learn here, right? They're going to call you to talk about places, and you have to get the information. You can't just say some things that you think they might be just sentimentalism. For instance, talking about the Biafra War, for instance,
Yeah.
talking about the politics in general in Nigeria, you can't just go based on what you think.
Yeah.
You need to give them facts. So these are some of the things that you would start changing, and before you know, you are thinking like a Nigerian, not like a Yoruba, a Igbo, a Hausa. Before you know, you are thinking, collectively.
Like
So
a
that's
Nigerian, like a
basically,
true Nigerian.
yes, that's basically what I discovered here. In
Okay.
Nigeria, you are a Northerner, you are Hausa. In South, you are Yoruba, you are Igbo. But here you build that spirit of, Nigeria. So that's one thing that changed in me. And professionally, I really grew in my sector. I studied chemical engineering,
Okay.
and today I have a very, how can I say, secured, the capacity actually to execute things,
Yeah.
and I feel I am capable of doing things,
Yeah.
even though I might not get the opportunity to do so. So sometimes our fear is not just studying here, but having the chance to execute the information that we have here within the country, due to the still difficulties that we are still trying to eliminate in our system. Try to think of Nigeria, try to think of Africa, in general, so that everyone can, be able to participate, right? So I think basically this is my situation. Okay.
Okay. So thank you so much, Ayuba. I really appreciate it. But just before I let you go, please permit me to ask this last question. Is it possible for
Okay.
somebody to get a job after studying in Brazil? Take for instance, somebody now understands the language and the person has finished his study. Is it possible to get a job?
Yeah, it's possible to get a job in Brazil,
Okay.
most especially if you have Brazilian documents, like if you have something that has to do with Brazil. For
Okay.
instance, you studied in Nigeria, and then you came to Brazil, you did a postgraduate. So that postgraduate studies makes it easier for you to get a job in
Job.
Brazil.
Wow.
Yes, so if you are coming, you try to go into the educational system, get a certificate, get a qualification, right? But as a PEC-G student, I don't know if it happens with the GCUB, they
Okay.
send your certificate to your embassy.
Okay.
So you have to go there to
To
pick
pick
it
it
up.
up.
Yeah, when you pick it up, you come back and then you can work here in Brazil. Okay,
Oh wow.
but it's very easy to work in Brazil when you have the documentations. But it's also difficult to work here if you don't have the documentations. Okay,
Okay.
so you have to consider these two sides. It could be very difficult. For instance, I have been facing this difficulty because I still have my document in Nigeria.
Okay.
My degree certificate is still in Nigeria. I remember I was eliminated in a selective process
Yeah, you
for
mentioned it in the video.
for substitute lecturer. So because I
Oh.
didn't have my document, yes, I had the other qualifications. I had them, but I didn't have my degree certificate.
Yeah.
So that's how it is. So it's good that you have the documentation so that you can have a smooth transit if you want to work here in Brazil.
Yeah.
And also try to enrich your curriculum so that you can have an upper hand. For instance, you get more qualifications. You do study more alternative courses. For instance, if you are studying, let's say, nursing, you study alternative courses so that at the end you have more qualification.
Yeah.
If you want to be a lecturer, for instance, here, while you are studying your graduate course or postgraduate, you invest in research, publications, chapters, articles, you try to participate in events,
Yeah.
and that gives you an upper hand when you finish this qualification. Because in Brazil, it pays if you have the qualification, right? It pays when you have the qualification. So that is basically what I have to say.
Okay. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the interview. I really want to appreciate you, Ayuba, for the time you have dedicated to be on this, to be in this program. And I want to really appreciate you for the insight too that you have shared. I believe a lot of people are going to glean lots from your experience. I still have so many questions I would have loved us to, talk about, but because of
Yeah,
the
but
brevity.
we are gonna, yes, we will expect the comments. In case we have comments to
Okay.
discuss any topic, we can come together again and then continue.
Exactly, exactly. So, viewers,
Yes.
if there's anything that we did not mention in the course of this interview that you would really like to get information about, you can drop it as a comment, okay, in the video, and we are going to come together and make a video about it just to share our experience, and so that when you are coming, you just come here as if you already know the nooks and cranny of Brazil. But just before I let you go again, this question, let me ask you before we wrap it up, please.
Okay.
Someone that is not familiar with the terrain of Brazil and the person wants to send application to schools, do you have schools in mind that you can recommend? Or do you have regions in mind that you can recommend? And if you're going to do that, what are the reasons?
Okay. If you want to work and study at the same time,
No, let's just even
this,
talk about study. Just study now.
okay, study, right?
Yeah.
If you, I think all the regions in Brazil are worth studying. All the
Perfect.
regions. There is no
Perfect.
university in Brazil that you will say, oh, this university is weak, even though they have rankings. I've been to many universities and you see they have very good levels,
Thank you so
right?
much.
But I think you should consider factors such as climate, such as level of the cost of living.
Okay.
You can consider that. I think these two factors are fundamental if you are
Okay.
you want to study here in Brazil.
Okay.
But in the level of education, I believe that all the universities are worth studying.
Wow.
But there is also another factor that I like mentioning. For instance, if you are coming for the postgraduate level, if you are coming outside the GCUB, you are coming outside the PEC-PG that somehow give you a cover of scholarship, you can try to consider the CAPS number. Now, the CAPS number is very important because if you have a university with a very high CAPS number,
Yeah.
you have tendency of getting a scholarship. So 6, 5, 7. 7 is the maximum.
That's for Dr.
So 5, 6, 7. If you have caps of 5, 6, 7, consider those universities. Okay.
Okay.
If you are coming to a university with the caps of 4, 3, you have a reduced chance of getting a scholarship because the top universities are giving most of the scholarships. That is the secret. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So thank you so much, Ayuba. Once again, I really appreciate you and thank you for everything you have shared with us. And what do you want to tell your viewers listening to you?
I think if you want to come to Brazil, first of all, try to get the Portuguese because so many people want to come. They want to avoid the language. It's not possible to live in Brazil without Portuguese, right? So you should consider studying the language. It's an investment of time. No matter how it is, if you are coming at the postgraduate level, you might study the language and your course at the same time.
Okay.
So you will do it simultaneously. But at the graduate level, first of all, you will study the language first. So you have a year of language first, and then the second year you will start studying. Okay. So I wish you the best. I believe that our experience here has been positive. We have some minor negative experiences, But I think it's good always to make the best experiences obvious, because it's worth sharing what is, let's say, the larger portion, right? So it's the larger portion is positive, so that's why we're sharing it here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And viewers at home, thank you so much for the time. If you are watching this video to this time, consider liking the video and consider subscribing to the channel. I want you to search for New Ayuba in Brazil and subscribe to the channel so that you can get more information about Brazil. You know, I want you to come to Brazil with full of information so that some of the mistakes that we made or some of the opportunity that we don't have, we have access to them.
Auntie, I see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.